Alright, a few things. If you hear a dog in the background, that's a dog. If you hear other things in the background, that's not a dog. Uh, I decided to. I've wanted to do this for a while to design my own lightsaber, and so that's what I did. And I started out by drawing a bunch of different sketches of some possible hilts. The first one was a complete accident. The second one, I don't know what I was going for. But I think after I think I draw like 7 or 8 different ones. I tried going for like a bident or a trident shape, which didn't appeal to me. Let's see what's next. Oh, I guess I took a long break. This took me a total of 4 hours and 50 minutes. Oh, this is pretty much the one I ended up going with. The design is based off of like a peg on a ship's wheel, like a pirate ship. And so I just took that design of the peg on a wheel and I turned that into a lightsaber. But I do draw out a few more. Like I said, this took like 4 hours and 50 minutes, and this one I was going for like a spear, like a lightsaber spear thing, because I think that would be neat. But I didn't go with it, obviously. I'm surprised I was able to take like 5 hours worth of video and crunch it down to 18 minutes. This one was a very this one was tough because I wanted to do this one as I was drawing it. I was going for like a pirate cutlass, and I think that hilt would have been pretty cool for a lightsaber. But if you think about it, trying to fight with something that has that sort of hilt, that hand guard thing, that could get in the way. This, I don't know what I was trying to do, like a sort of like the Halo energy sword thing where you just hold one part and it's got 2 little prongs coming up out of it. That was just a throwaway thing. I was just trying to think of as many designs as I could to play around with. And this one I fully intended on doing also because I thought it would be cool to have the regular lightsaber in your good hand and then in the offhand have like a parrying dagger lightsaber thing. So I spent a good while drawing a swept hilt for a dagger like what you would see on a rapier, because I thought it would be cool to have like a parrying dagger lightsaber to go along with the sword. But I didn't end up modeling the dagger, even though I spent some good time drawing it. And this is probably the most I've done drawing with this tablet that I have. It's very confusing for me to draw with because it's not like one of those where the tablet is the screen so you can look down at your hand while you're drawing, which is natural. Oh, look at this. This is ridiculous. Krita would not let me write words properly. Like, it would just keep linking strokes together for some reason. I couldn't figure out how to stop it from happening. So I had to like slow down real hard to be able to draw things or to write words. This is a Wacom Intuos. Do you got a name, buddy? Do you have a name? I'm sure it does. It's just the standard Wacom tablet you can get for like $60 or something like that. And there's a real disconnect drawing you're like your head is up facing the monitor, but your hand is like far away trying to draw. It's really weird for me to do that. But I just took the base sketch and I just stretched it out. I tried at this point going with a lazy mouse thing and trying to basically make the lines finer, make it look a little better, because originally I wanted a nice finished sketch as well, but I quickly give up on that and just go with editing the rough sketch and then keeping the rough sketch as the final sketch, because things weren't working out too well on that front. It was harder than I thought trying to get these smooth lines. And overall, once you see the final product, overall I was very pleased with what I came up with. Although in my head, and even along with the sketch, I thought I had a pretty nice idea, but it just, for the amount of time I put into actually modeling and texturing it, it didn't uh it didn't it could have been better, but I'm still really pleased with what I have. This part was really hard for me, trying to split the handle like I wanted it to, because I was going for sort of like, you take the peg off of the wheel and then you sort of like split it so that it's a shell and you have a wooden handle for the lightsaber. And that took me a little while to get. Like I said, this was a 5-hour video and it's crunched down to 18 minutes, so that little thing of me trying to split the handle like that probably took like 20 minutes. And then I messed around with like splitting them up further, trying to make things look different, but they got a little weird and phallic, and that's not what I was going for. It's just a habit, or an unfortunate side effect of things being oblong shaped. And whenever I look at this sketch, I always think it looks like a sonic screwdriver. I was just putting some cloth or leather wraps around the thing because I thought it would look neat. And I wanted the part in between the two shells to be like more sci-fi detailed, kind of like if you look, especially if you go to Star Wars and you look at literally anything and you just look like a panel on the wall, it's just got a bunch of unnecessary detail on there because to make it look futuristic, that's what they did. And so I wanted a lot of that kind of stuff going on between the two wooden pieces, but I just couldn't do it, I guess, because in actuality the part, like the model part, was, especially the way I did it, with that much detail in it. So then I just decided to make it look like it was made out of Damascus steel, which is just steel that had been folded a bunch of different times, and then it's etched in a certain way so that it looks all wavy and stuff. It looks really cool. But in the finished thing, I kind of made it, see, there's me trying to part out what the things would be made of, and because of Krita, my handwriting looks terrible because it wouldn't let me do letters the way it was supposed to. So now I'm finished with the sketch and I'm going on to modeling, and the modeling went by faster than I expected it to, but that's because I have like 10 years of modeling experience, although I don't feel like I've gotten any good at modeling until like this past year or so. Looks like I took another break there. It took me a little while to realize that I hadn't removed the solidify modifier from those things, so they were causing me some trouble. And this part, I think I redid 2, maybe 3 times, because it it just did. It looked a little weird with it just being the 2 prongs, so I made it 4 prongs instead. And then I couldn't quite decide on how I wanted the between parts of all those little prongs to look. I wanted a little pin thing coming out of the middle there, because in the original sketch it kind of looks like I left something in like that, even though it's just a misplaced line kind of thing. But I decided it wasn't going to work. And then here I wanted a toggle switch, like you would see like an airplane metal toggle switch kind of thing to turn it on and off. But I just couldn't make it look right. Like, it always looked too weird or too small or too out of place, so I eventually just removed the little toggle switch part and kept the base part that I'm building right there as a button instead. I also, especially compared to the finished model, put way too much detail into that button. Like the highest amount, probably the highest poly count on any of these pieces on the finished model is that button. And if you look in the final renders, you can barely even see the button. It's ridiculous. But I do have a horrible tendency to do that with some of my models. Like, I'll spend a lot of time detailing one part and then in the final renders not even show that part off, kind of thing. And this is the reason it's all red and blue and stuff is a thing called face orientation. So it lets you know which way the normals are facing, because if they're red, or if they're blue, then that's good. But if they're red and you try to render them, then the red faces are going to show up invisible because the normals are flipped. So I had to go around and collect all the red faces and make them all blue again. And this is me just getting rid of unnecessary faces that won't be seen to make the unwrapping, the UV unwrapping, a little easier, because UV unwrapping is the bane of my existence. It never looks good when I do it, and very often it just doesn't work right for me. Look how much detail is in that thing. I started trying to get rid of so much extraneous detail, but I just gave up, I guess, because I saw that I had connected things in a dumb way and figured it would be too much trouble to fix. Way too much detail. I guess I took another break again. I found, especially with working on something that has a bunch of different pieces to it, I found that it's super useful to like remove all but one piece and then like unwrap that, then bring them all back in and then hide all of them except for another piece, and then like basically texture or unwrap one thing at a time instead of trying to do it all at once. I know it sounds pretty obvious, but it took me a long time to figure that out. And here I didn't know how long I should make the blade, so I just made it really long in comparison, or I was trying to make it appropriately length in comparison to the handle or the hilt, but I mean, it didn't really matter how big it was because I knew in the final render I wasn't going to be showing off the whole blade anyway. And this is one of the very rare times that I've actually doled out a different material to each item to make texturing easier. That big plane I just put in, I wanted it to be like a reflective floor thing so that it would look nice in the render, and it was super unnecessary, and it made it harder to deal with in Substance. So this is the first time I went about trying to texture it. This is like one of the very first times I've ever gotten smart materials to work on my model. It was crazy. So I went through playing around with all the smart materials, because usually they never work because my unwrapping is so bad, but they work so perfectly here that I couldn't not use them. And I originally wanted like a white, like really old gray kind of look to the wood, but I just stuck with the like an aged brown instead, because it looked really good with that leather. See, I'm trying to make the floor like a reflective thing, and I just ended up getting rid of it, or hiding it anyway. And see, I tried to put some detail in that thing, but it was too much of a bother, so I just threw in a grunge map on the to make the reflectiveness look like Damascus, which is what you're seeing now. And I think, I'm going to the blade now. I originally wanted it to be a white blade, but then I started playing around with the colors and like seafoam, like green and seafoam blue to go with the ocean aesthetic, but then I found orange, and the orange just looked really good with the wood tones and stuff, so that's why I chose an orange blade. In the end, it looks a little more basic than my sketch, but I still am super happy with the results, and one day would like to make it in real life, because I think that'd be pretty fun. So that's pretty much it. The rest of this is just me rendering out different positions, so thanks for watching.